In this video, we're going to talk about the 6 mistakes that I made when building my audience.
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue, it is something you are.
All right, so you're marketing yourself, you want to build an audience. These are mistakes that you don't even think about when you're starting out with. And these are mistakes that can cost you money. It can cost you just time in general and just building your audience. So I'm going to talk about the 6 mistakes that I made in terms of just building my audience. And the first one was that I started out by trying to please everyone. So I did what a lot of people do, where you create videos or you create stuff and you're professional. I mean, you got to be professional. And so that's essentially what I started out doing, where I thought, I don't want to offend people and let me just create videos and so, let me not offend anyone. And so I didn't add any sarcastic humor because a lot of people especially don't understand sarcasm, the really dumb people. So because I knew this, I said, I'm not going to add sarcasm, even though I'm a very sarcastic type person around my friends. I didn't add the sarcasm. And so that was a mistake, because trying to be professional, you're essentially trying to please everyone, and then you end up pleasing no one because you're freaking boring. So I said, you know what? Let me just add in this sarcasm, and whoever doesn't get it, people who don't get how smart I am, how brilliant I am, how amazing I am, who cares? So that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made at the beginning, is I just didn't add that to start with. The second mistake is that I didn't keep track of my numbers at the beginning. So at the beginning, even though I did Facebook ads and I did all this other stuff in terms of just getting subscribers and getting leads and just building a following, I didn't keep track of those numbers. So by not keeping track of the numbers, you don't know if what you're doing is working or not. And so when you're building up your presentation, when you're building up your audience, you just want to keep track of numbers, keep track of like subscribers to your email list and just little things like that. If you're spending money, just make sure you keep track how much you're spending, how much you're making. And these are things that you want to keep track of. That way you know what to improve when you want to improve it. The third thing is that I took too long to reinvest back into the business. And so I should have bought like this camera that I'm using now. I should have bought this thing. I should have bought this freaking expensive ass light. I should have bought all this stuff at the very beginning. And instead, what I did is I just used my phone. And the iPhone and all the phones are great. The problem is the lenses are really small. So the lighting, it jacks up the lighting when I use a light like what I'm using now. What would happen with my phone was I would have the phone set up, and then the light, because it's dark in here and then there's only that one light, what would happen on the phone is it would just like whitewash everything. So as I'm talking right now, I'm trying to freaking make a video, the freaking phone would just go all white, and I'd have to start over, and I'd have to backtrack and say, oh, you know what? I was on step 2. Let me do that again. One day I just got pissed off. I was like, man, and then I literally just went out to the camera store and just bought like an $800 camera. I was just pissed off. But the mistake was that I didn't invest earlier, and I didn't invest in the equipment. I didn't invest in any training in terms of how to build an audience. So I was just trying to figure things out myself. And by trying to figure things out myself, it just took me longer. I remember when I looked at the guy's program, everything was in the program, and I should have just bought that program from the start. And so if you take too long to reinvest, then it just takes you longer to see the results. So the fourth mistake is that I made it more complicated than it actually is. When you're looking online, you're reading about all this stuff. People are talking about funnels. They're talking about, do this and with SEO and all this stuff. And really, they're making it way more complicated than it actually is. And so I did the same thing. I said, I got to have this funnel and I got to do this. In reality, all you really need is just a lead capture page, a squeeze page, and then you just create content. That's really pretty much all you need, especially to start with. Just by doing that and not doing anything else, you can build a 6-figure business. I mean, just real fast. So that was essentially what I did, is I just made it way more complicated than what it is. And even people, when they say things like, how do I create a product? How do I make a product and everything? And I'm thinking like, what do you mean? How do you create a product? You just say, here's what I'm going to put inside these videos, and bam, that's your product. And people would make things way more complicated than what it actually is. So don't make things complicated. The fifth mistake that I made, and this was like a big hurdle for me to overcome, was that I didn't email every single day. And so the reason I didn't email every single day was because I thought, oh, I don't know, I mean, that's a lot of emails, and people may not want that many emails every single day. And some people really didn't want that many emails every single day. But other people do, and the people who do are loyal fans. So thank you if you read the emails every single day. If you don't read the emails every single day, I hate your guts. So that's pretty much it. The sixth thing is I paid too much attention to the little things in the beginning. And little things like unsubscribes, when people would unsubscribe, I'm like, dang it, what did I do wrong? Oh man, maybe I'm emailing too much. And so I paid attention to little things like that. And by paying attention to those little things, it takes your mind off the bigger things like profits. So these are essentially the 5 mistakes. So number 1, I started out trying to please everyone instead of being my brilliant self. And number 2 is I didn't keep track of numbers in the beginning. Number 3 was that I took too long to reinvest back into the business. Number 4 is that I made it more complicated than what it actually is. It's really not that complicated. They just make it complicated so they can sell you stuff. Number 5 is that I didn't email every single day. I wasn't in front of people just nonstop. Number 6 is that I paid too much attention to little things like the unsubscribes and things like that, when you should be paying attention to the bigger things. This is kind of like with speakers when they essentially pay attention to their one sheets and they're like, oh, I got to create a one sheet. I'm like, dude, you got to think bigger. Your one sheet is just this small aspect that you shouldn't even be doing. You got to figure out how to get a freaking client in the first place. Figure out how to get on stage in the first place. Then you can do all the other stuff. And so those are the 6 mistakes. So don't make the same mistakes as I did. But then again, I really don't make mistakes. I'm just perfect.